even though my dad was like, yeah, this acting thing's great, by then I was already in, just shut down mode. So my first like 2, 3, 4 years in community college, I was just farting around. I really wasn't doing anything. And so my dad got me a job working for the LA County Register Recorder because he worked there. And he was like, well, it seems in his brain, he was like, you're not going to do school. So I might as well make sure you have a good job. And then eventually I found, I was dating someone who was in a black box theater production of um, Little Shop of Horrors. And it
Mhm.
just came back to me. I remember sitting in the audience watching her perform, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. This is my passion. So then she spoke to the director, got me in another play, and then it was kind of history from there because I was doing improv at the time, but it didn't quite connect to me. The power of improv yet. I'll say that corny line right now, and we'll get back to that later. But like to me it was just a fun thing I did with my friends. Like I really didn't understand it. So then I started, getting reinvested in acting, started really falling in love with it again. And then another thing happened. A buddy of mine, Matt Apodaca, here's the Donald Glover episode of WTF. And in that episode, he's like, oh, there's not that many black improvisers at UCB. And he lists off names. And it was a wild thing because there was no reason he should have. But when I didn't hear my name there, I was like, okay, that's where I need to go. Because in my
You gotta
head,
get up
where I
there.
was
Mhm.
doing improv, because I was good at that, I felt like I was good at that. I felt like I was the big fish in that scene. And I might have been the big fish in that scene, but it wasn't the scene. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm, mhm.
after hearing that, I immediately like sign up for UCB classes. I start taking it. I'm going downtown I'm like the commute to even getting to UCB was wild because I had to take the Metrolink from Norwalk down to Los Angeles to get to Hollywood to get to this actor's studio on Melrose in time for a 6 o'clock class. And then by the time the class would be done, which is like 9 or 10, I would
Mhm.
have to shoot all the way over using a bus station back to Orange County because that's when I was in Garden Grove. And
Wow.
I'd get home at 2 when I had to wake up at
Wow,
5.
2. Yeesh.
Yeah, because the bus system was just so slow at that time. So that s but it was like my favorite day of the week, even though it was a sleep deprived, so much effort. Like I had to like sneak out of work. I had my homie uh who would cover for me because I would have to leave 30 minutes early to catch this train. There was no
Oh,
other
wow.
way. So he would, if someone came looking for me, he'd be like, "Oh, he's in the bathroom," and it was like 30 minutes. So it was so like easy to like not get
Mhm.
away with just 30 minutes one time a week, and I was just doing this run, and I ended up doing an indie improv show, and talking to someone and telling them how I want to be this actor and I don't know where to start. And they just immediately put me on game. They were like, well, you need to go to LA casting, you need to do actors access, you need to be upload a new headshot, just keep submitting. This casting director's got to get used to seeing your face, and then you'll start getting auditions, and then you just do it. It's like that. And I was like, but the power of improv line that I mentioned, and without I'm going to come through, is I remember coming up to the person. The way this conversation started was I was like, you know, I'm trying to be an actor, you know, and she was like, you are an actor. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, you do improv, and that's just acting without a script.
Hmm.
And it was just the 1-2 punch I needed to just light the fire under my ass. And then before I knew it, I was getting auditions and I was like calling out sick for work for auditions because they'd be in the day and this was a 9 to 5
Uh-huh.
job. And oh man, I like used up so much sick time. I ended up getting suspended from work, and it
Ooh.
was it was going south. And then one big event happened where I knew I was going to go to New York for a week for Del Close Marathon because I told myself I was like, if I go out to the Del Close Marathon they'll know I'm dedicated. Everyone in the improv scene here will know I'm dedicated because I took the time to get out there. And
Mhm.
the second thing was I actually ended up booking a short film that was going to need me for a week. So that's when I had to make the jump because I had no sick time. They weren't going to give me any time. I was already had disciplinary action, so I had to quit my job. And that's when my dad almost blew a head gasket. He was
I
like, "You're going to leave
bet.
this job for
Right.
benefits," and I was like, "Yeah, I got to because I got to." And it was like my mom and my dad was kind of tripping, but what I said that won my mom over, and once I had my mom on my side, like I was like, okay, it doesn't matter that my dad, because at least one of my parents are on my side.
Uh-huh.
But I told my mom that I would rather try and do this acting thing and fail than to be sitting at work 20 years from now wondering what would have happened if I actually gave it a shot.
That's it right there.
Because it's a county job, it's a good job, it has good benefits. If you just stay there, you get a
Comfortable.
guaranteed promotion every year. So
Oh,
you
wow.
see so many people who have stayed in the same position for 20, 30, 40 years and really, coming in there at a young age and seeing that and seeing them be like, damn, how did this happen? I was like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person
Mhm.
just with years under my belt, just sitting there waiting for retirement, wonder just because it's all I have left. So once my mom heard me say that, she was like, okay, I get it. You should go for it. And then it was kind of history. I quit, and it was not easy. I was just talking to my girlfriend about this, how like it went from, because you had like a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks that was really solid, to like working part-time jobs and you're auditioning, you're not really booking much. So I truly I but I look back on those times, and the way I knew I was doing the right thing was even when I was like at my brokest, not knowing how I was going to pay rent, not really knowing, what I was going to eat, but I was just happy going around town to these auditions just for the chance, just because I was in the running to try and get one of these gigs. I was so much happier than if I was sitting at that desk. So I knew I was already doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So uh, that's the origin, and then I'll run quickly between the origin and now to how
Yeah.
it got. It was obviously a lot of work, a lot of reps. I was doing improv. Eventually met, six other like-minded fellas who like improv, and we wanted to start an all-black improv team called White Women. We started doing that. It came at the right time. It was right when there were calls for diversity in the improv space. So like we just took full advantage of all the opportunities we were getting because everybody, was putting us up. We were doing reps and we were like doing really well. Like everyone on the team was some hitters. So it really was like a super kismet situation because like I didn't even know any of these dudes. The way I ended up on the team was a friend I had from an improv class was like, yo, these dudes are starting an all black improv team. You should be on it. And then he sends an email to them with me CC'd on it. And that's what, and they were saying, they were
Oh, wow.
like, you were CC'd on it. So we couldn't like not say you could join because you were
Say
already in it.
yeah.
So like, it was like,
Right,
cause
walking in,
they didn't
yeah.
know me. So they probably would have just been like, oh, okay, if he just would have passed
Yeah,
along the
whatever.
email. But because I was CC'd, they had to do it.
Mhm.
And these dudes I'm so close with, but back then had no clue. And we just, yeah. And so doing improv with them and at UCB, I was on a mess hall team, which was kind of like the step right before getting on a Herald team. And, just everyone I met there just presented opportunities. And that's why, what I talk about is like, opportunities and like what you do with said opportunities because like I was getting auditions to things that my friends were writing on, but those aren't those aren't free. Not like you have to pay, but it's not like you just get it. you get opportunities through these connections. You get to auditions, but you still got to audition. You
Mhm.
still got to win over the casting director. You still got to win over the rest of the producers. They're just a writer, so they don't
The
have that
door,
much
but
weight.
not
Exactly. So I went in, uh, and right before this, actually, because this was for Workaholics, my friend Jen Murphy, and the reason I mentioned mess hall, we were on a mess hall team together, and they know me through improv, so they were like, "Oh, this role might be good for Iffy." I go in an audition and kill it. But before that, my boy Andy T has a podcast called Yo Is This Racist? And they were gonna make it an MTV show. I go and audition for it. I test. I test for it. It was great. It was really close. Apparently, it was down to one exec who wanted this other guy instead of me. And but they
Mhm.
liked me so much, they had me come do a sketch. So I still made a little bread. The show didn't end up going, but that's kind of like step one. The reason I mention that test in that show is because the people who produced that also produced Workaholics.
Oh, wow.
Serious Business is what they're called, and and I was acting. It was halfway through the day, and it was kind of we were chilling. And one of the guys came. He was like, "Hey, you killed it in your test, and you killed it in the sketch that you were in for the Yo Is This Racist? You're really funny here. Have you considered writing? Would you ever consider writing for At Midnight?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Okay, well, I want you to submit a packet for the next season." I submit a packet and I get in, and it was real dope. And it was funny because all that time I thought like maybe all those connections help, but really what I found out is they did blind reads of packets. So it wasn't even like anything helped. They did blind reads of packets and I got picked then. So after that, once I had my foot in the door, it's just kind of been the same thing where it's been like, yes, 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 yes. And I didn't get to hit on everything, but but
Mhm.
that's kind of what the one thing, if anyone takes anything from this, and by the time this comes out, hopefully I will have written this because it's funny that we're talking about this today because I saw some friends talking about moving to LA and moving to this and that. And I want to write kind of like the stuff that worked for me and maybe like something that'll help. So hopefully that'll be out too. But the biggest thing I can say is like say yes to everything you can and that you have the bandwidth for. Because I feel like a lot of the advice that kind of is going around as of recently is like know your worth,